Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës. Besoj se çdo shqiptar këtu në Michigan e ka marrë lajmin e mirë që Robert Lulgjuraj, një prokuror në Macomb County, është një shqiptar që kërkon të aktivizohet në politikën e madhe amerikane. Ai po lufton, siç do të luftoj çdo person I cili kërkon të zgjidhet në Kongresin e Shteteve të Bashkuara. Është një betejë jo e lehtë, por është një betejë që I duhet, jo vetëm Robertit, po I duhet të gjithë komunitetit shqiptaro-amerikan. Ne sot e kemi ftuar Robertin këtu në studion tonë. Intervistën do t'ja bëjmë në anglisht, sepse duam që edhe votuesit amerikan ta kuptojnë qëllimin e tij, synimin e tij politik, ta mbështesin politikën që ai përfaqëson si një përfaqësues I republikanëve, të cilët kërkojnë të kenë edhe një vend në Kongres pikërisht në zonën elektorale numër 10. Robert, you are welcome. I made an introduction in Albania and you heard it. I know now that all the Albanians who spread the news know that you are putting your feet on the battle to achieve the position of a congressman in the US Congress. That's an objective that we as Albanians all support, because we want that Albanian youngsters, Albanian persons like you who has the experience in the law, who has the experience in another field, who are educated, to be involved in the American politics. Because being involved in the American politics for the young generation of Albanians is a dream for every people who migrated here in the United States. We want our representative. We have supported other and have done a good lobbyism during all these years to support American candidates who supported Albanian causes, like in Kosovo and other. Now we need somebody who has our own blood to support himself, that will support us as the Albanians, because we have a lot of issues in the Balkans, and we see that the Republicans, and especially President Trump, on what he's doing to pacify the world and what he was doing in Alaska recently. So we need somebody like you to support the Republican cause, to support the Albanians, and to support yourself being involved in politics. I congratulate you for what you want to achieve. Now let's start, because not every Albanian knows who you are and why Robert is taking this step. So, Robert, what inspired you? I said that you have been a prosecutor, to pursue a career in law, and how that has worked, and your work as a prosecutor prepared you for the next step to be part of the Congress. The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Rafael. Faleminderit shumë. I did my first interview when I became a prosecutor with you in 2021, and now it's pretty neat that it's full circle, that now my first television interview as a candidate for Congress is with you too. So you're my friend, and we've built a great relationship, and I also want to thank Ani Vila. He's been so supportive of me all these years, and both of you together, and Albanian TV. I mean, I'm not closer to any other media outlet, whether it be Albanian or American, than you all in this station. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your support. And I'm never going to let you down. And we're going to work hard and we're going to win.
We all want that you can win, but it's hard. So you have to do your own steps, and that's why we are here. So returning to my question, what inspired you to follow a career in law?
Yeah, sure. So I always believe in doing what's right, Raphael, and I always believe in standing up for the voiceless, and I always believe in truth, in virtue, in justice. And every day I wake up in the morning, I always try to do the right thing and stand for the right things, and I've always been wired that way or bred that way. And so faith and family is like a huge catalyst in my life, and I think it's because I'm Albanian and because the way I'm raised, I've been raised with this certain value set, and so it's been innate in me my entire life. So law was the area that I knew that I could make a big impact in, and it's the greatest. You can have the greatest impact, I think, in America in the legal field or the judiciary as well, and laws penetrate every portion of America, legislative.
So, legislative and politics. So it's a means. It was a means also for your future. Do you thought at the very beginning like that, or you thought that you have to serve the people who need to support everyone and to fight the crime?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, fight the crime, support people that need help. And God opened this door for us. I didn't think that I'd be sitting here running for U.S. Congress in 2025 with you, but when you do good work and people take notice and you serve the community, then those people come back to you and ask you to serve them as their representative, and that's exactly what happened in this case. And so, I could have been any lawyer I wanted to, Raphael. I could have made money, could have went in the private sector, could have went into business law, something that generated a substantial income, but money's never been a driving force in my life. It's not the catalyst in my life. What's important in my life is God, my family, my friends, and doing the right thing. And so what lawyer is the best lawyer to become? I think it's becoming a prosecutor and leaving the private sector. And so I dedicated my life to government. I dedicated my life to other people, to victims in particular. I dedicated my life to law enforcement. And so every day I stood up in a courtroom in Detroit, fighting for victims, making sure that they get justice, making sure that they're not forgotten, making sure that people are not rolling over them. And then I stood shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement every single day. So I believe in defending police, not defunding them. And so that's been a huge driving force in my life, and I prosecuted a lot of cases, Raphael, a lot of violent felonies.
So you said you prosecuted a lot of cases. Being in Wayne County as a prosecutor, it's a challenge for any prosecutor. And you overpassed this challenge. You done how many cases?
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000
maybe
cases.
Maybe more. I mean, I've
maybe
lost track.
More. You don't count, not everyone. And in a county that has a lot of crime, because includes Detroit and Detroit suburbans. So do you remember, I'm going a little bit personal, any of your trials that you are so impressed how a person who needs help and was in front of the crime and was prejudged bad and you helped him, what they say to you. This will give me an opportunity to understand who you are as a person, as a human being. Can you recall something?
Rafi, I've done so many cases that, like you said, you lose track, but several stand out to me. It's very hard to be a victim when you're humiliated, when you're suffering mentally, physically, and sometimes with some victims, the last thing they want to do is come forward because they're scared. There could be retribution, or they're scared to put all their personal, the worst moment of their life is now exposed publicly in a courtroom. And so I always cared about victims. I was always accessible. I always built a relationship with them. I told them that I cared about them, that I love them, that I care about being their voice in court, and we need them to cooperate. We need them to come forward. We need them to testify, and I'm going to be there every step of the way with them to ensure that the villain, the criminal, the assailant that caused them probably the worst day of their life is held accountable. And getting in front of 12 jurors that you don't even know to explain your story is really difficult. So I always had a lot of respect for jurors, and they knew that as long as they're willing to be vulnerable and tell their story, I'll capture that story legally and put that story in front of the jury to make sure that it meets the elements of the crime, so we can put some of the worst people ever in prison and jail. And that's the type of accountability and leadership this country needs, and that's what we have to do to this country. So law and order is a big part of my messaging, and also it's a huge part of making America, I think, a prosperous place, Raphael.
Okay, I understand that, and I understand that you support the Republican Party. And supporting the Republican Party, it's common sense and law and order.
Amen.
And law and order, especially in a city like Detroit, is needed. It's needed, and I'm very pleased to know that you have been an exemption, your co-workers and your friends, persecutors, because I heard that from other people in the same environment, in the same area. Now let's go to your next step. This was your actual step that brought you here. On the other side, you have been attached to the Republican Party from your young years. You have been a member of the youth of the Republican Party here in Michigan. Now, why are you running for Congress now? And what do you hope you can accomplish?
Yeah, so I've been involved with the party as a young Republican. I graduated college. I was a president of my university. I went to a conservative Catholic college in Indiana called Holy Cross, came back home, joined the Republican Party, Raphael. So I knocked doors, made phone calls, help elect good conservative candidates to public office. And I always look at integrity and character and virtue when I get behind people. And I believe that the Republican Party reflects God's values, reflects my values, reflects my family's values. And to be honest with you, Raphael, I think if Albanians were to sit down and really think about who they are and what they stand for and where they come from and the family background that they believe in, because Albanians are huge. A lot of them are in faith and family and work ethic. Well, those values align with the conservative Republican Party. And so that's why I joined the Republican Party. And I'm honored, Raphael. I mean, I'm the first Republican to announce less than a year out for the 10th District, United States House of Representatives 10th District. And to say that there's an Albanian knocking on the door of the halls of Congress, I think it's history for us to get up to this point, given my family's background. Just 2 generations ago, my grandfather was herding sheep in Mudsi, and now that his grandson's running for Congress, that is unbelievable. And that story is only possible in America, where you can rise to become a prosecutor and then turn around and run for U.S. Congress. And so I'm thankful, but we're not going to rest on those titles. We're going to win.
So you have a typical Albanian name, last name, Lulgjuraj. Somebody told me that, here's Lulgjuraj, it is a recognizable name. It's a recognizable name here if you say Lulgjuraj, or Americans have difficulty pronouncing, but they know that's Albanian.
Yeah, Fisin Math is Lulgjuraj, so there's a lot of Lulgjurajs in Macomb County. And I think my last name is a positive. Now, if I was in a rural district, or a more spacious district where I can't get around to all the voters and introduce myself, it would be a problem, Raphael. But we're in Macomb County, and this congressional district is the most ethnic and diverse congressional district in the state of Michigan. And so a lot of people have visited Albanian businesses, have Albanian neighbors, have gone to school with Albanians, and there's a lot of other ethnicities, Balkan, European, Arabic ethnicities, and so I believe strongly that my last name and my heritage will play well in this district.
So it will play well and should be recognizable.
And the party's familiar with me, Raphael, right? So it's not like, I'm running for the first time. They know my last name. They know my character. They know that, I'm American. I'm as pro-American as it gets. I believe in America first. But I also have an ethnic heritage and an ethnic background that I'm also proud of as well.
All are here immigrants. America is a melting pot of every ethnicity. And now, what personal experiences have you or have most influenced your politic beliefs and public service goals, both being a prosecutor and now expressing your intention to be in the Congress?
Yeah, I think my whole life was led up to this point. It starts with faith, with belief in God. I was raised like that. Then my family, growing up in the nuclear family, always trying to protect that. And after faith, family, work ethic, I was always raised to have an affinity to America, to be a patriot for America, to be thankful to what America's offered all of us and my family. And so I stand, really strong on that family bedrock. And actually, we need to protect, Raphael. America, I think Donald Trump saved America, but now we have to defend America. And we have to defend family values.
Can you elaborate more on this?
Well, sure.
This thesis.
I think prior to Donald Trump coming in, we had a lot of social and economic issues. A lot of confusion. We have these schools that I think that they indoctrinate our children instead of educate. We have males that dress as females and go into women's bathrooms. We castigate or make fun of people that have faith, that promote faith, that believe in the nuclear family, that believe in raising their children with some sort of value system and moral compass. So I think our educational system was under attack. I think families were under attack. I think going against natural law and God's law and basic biology is disgusting.
Or we can put this in a word, common sense.
Common sense, yeah. It's all common sense. And economically, we were struggling the last 4 years. I think we had a president that really was asleep at the wheel. And that's not being derogatory, that's the truth. Mentally and physically failed ailment-wise. And so thank God, by the grace of God, we were able to get President Donald Trump elected. The American people saw through it, and they saw through all the frivolous persecutions. And I actually know the difference between a real prosecution and a frivolous one. Mm-hmm. And they tried to disparage him, but he still pushed forward. And so, to be honest with you, Raphael, I think the Republican Party has let me down and let a lot of Americans down. I'm more than a Republican, I'm an America First Republican. I'm a Donald Trump Republican. And it's a new common sense party, and it's a party that helps secure the border, and it's a party that helps put American workers first, and American families first, and American policy first, and American manufacturing first. And for the first time, I think we had a president that woke up every day putting his fists in the air and trying to stand up for blue-collar Americans, and that's exactly what the 10th district is. It's a blue-collar district, and it deserves, I think, to be represented by someone that comes from a blue-collar family like I do, mm-hmm. that actually lives in the district, because as far as I can tell and I can garner, all the people that are running or thinking about running for this district are not born and raised in this district. So I'm the only true one that is, and I'm going to get that message out to the voters. Yes. And I think they're going to see that genuineness and passion for me. And so I'm proud to be an America First Republican, and I'm going to be proud to support Donald Trump when I get in the halls of Congress, because when I support him, I'm also supporting the people in the district.
Do you ever thought of getting an endorsement from President Trump after the first internal election in the Republican Party. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, so if we make it through the primary, President Trump is going to endorse us, but I hope that Donald Trump is watching Albanian TV of America when this airs, so he knows that I'm going to be the #1 defender of his agenda every single day in the halls of Congress, and there's not going to be a better fighter for the America First agenda than I am. And he can go to bed at night knowing that the 10th Congressional District is going to have a U.S. representative that votes in line with his value system and the America First value system, and I'm never going to sell out Donald Trump, and I'm never going to sell out the American people. And we need a new generation of leadership because President Trump, Raphael, is on his last term, and so we need young, articulate, intelligent, conservative fighters to pick up the work that he's trying so hard to get done and run beside him.
And I'm sure here it is one.
1,000%.
Okay. Now we are digging a little bit in the 10th district. So the 10th district is the district I live to. So I know the problems that we have in the district. I know the issues. I know the constituents in this area. And what are 3 main issues facing the Michigan 10th Congressional Districts today?
First, we're going to start off with, as I've gotten out and spoken to voters, particularly, even now, but particularly last election, the American people want border security.
Okay.
And the American people want legal immigration.
Okay.
And we had an open border under the Biden administration. We had 1.9 million people cross into the border that came into the country illegally. And that's a huge national security issue. We don't know who these people are. They're not vetted. And it's a huge tax or cost on the American taxpayers.
Okay.
There's reports that say we spent about $150 billion on illegal immigration, and that includes housing, health care, jailing illegal immigrants that have committed crimes. And then another huge problem that people don't talk about, Raphael, we lose, over the course of, under Biden, hundreds of thousands of people have died through fentanyl overdose. And a majority of fentanyl comes through the southern border. And so if we don't secure that southern border, we're going to lose more of our daughters and our sons. So we have to secure the southern border, make sure fentanyl is not coming across. And I believe firmly in, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country.
That's one of the main direction of the MAGA movement. Now, I will do.
Let me ask you a question, Raphael. Do you lock your door at night when you go to sleep?
Yes.
Well, the country should do the same too. And Nancy Pelosi locks her door at night, and Chuck Schumer locks their door at night, and some of them even have private security armed to protect them. Well, you know what? How about the American people? They don't have a voice. The only person that brings a voice to them is me and President Trump. And so we believe that they should have security too. And so we want people to come to this country. No doubt about it. I'm an immigrant. My families are immigrants. My father, my grandparents. You immigrated to this country, and immigrants make up some of the best people that are in the United States, but you have to follow a process, Raphael. Are we going to have laws and rules, or are we not? So we have to have a system in place that we know who's coming, they're coming for the right reasons, we can vet them, we make sure that they have good character, and we want to make sure that they assimilate to America. Okay. And so we have to have a process, Raphael. So we'll let you in, but you know what's even worse? If people are cutting the line and coming in illegally? Yes. People like us, like my family and yours, that came here legally, that we followed the process, that we filled out paperwork, that we communicated with the American government prior to coming in, you take the spot of all those other people that are trying to earn it the correct way. So it's not fair to the people, the immigrants now that are trying to come in the correct way. They should have first dibs at being able to come in.
Okay, but I know by fact, as we Albanians, Malsors even, some of them are still illegal. Some of them are still illegal, have not fulfilled the documents. how to resolve this thing.
Yeah, so it could be a two-pronged approach. I don't know if they're, every case is a little bit different.
I'm saying in general.
If their documents lapse, well, then they have to come in compliance with like federal immigration law to make sure that they can stay in this country legally, and obviously follow whatever guidelines ICE and the Department of Homeland Security's put out. But if people are legally crossing the border, whether that be from Canada or Mexico, Rafael,
yes,
we have to secure that southern border. So when I get to Congress, I'm going to be line in line with President Trump to make sure that we have enough money to finish. And he almost finished the border during the first term, but we're going to make sure when we get in there that he has the finances and the money to be able to finish that border.
Okay, as I see now, the number of gotaways is reduced.
Gone down, correct.
It's gone down.
Thank God.
Thank God. Thanks God.
But you know what we have to do now?
Yes.
There are illegal immigrants that come to this country and
they stay
and they don't respect this country.
Okay.
And they commit crimes. So I fully support President Trump's administration and ICE and Secretary Kristi Noem of Homeland Security trying to go out and pick up people that are murdering, raping, shooting, selling drugs, whatever dangerous assaultive felonies that they're conducting on the American people. They need to be wrapped up, they need to be grabbed, and they need to be deported immediately, because, Rafael, we're not going to live in a country where there's crime and despair all over.
I fully agree with you, but we are here not in the southern part. We are in the northern part. We have people that are coming illegally, even through Canada.
Yeah, for sure.
So you had the experience during your trials. So what can be done in Michigan here, because we are talking to the 10th district on this purpose?
So my promise to the 10th district is I'm always going to stand shoulder to shoulder with all the law enforcement agencies. And actually, I'm proud I have the endorsement of the chief of police from Shelby Township. And he knows that I'm going to stand with his department and all the other law enforcement agencies across Macomb County and Rochester Hills to keep this district safe and secure. All right, I'll always go in front of a microphone and stand up for victims and law enforcement.
Okay.
Now, one thing that we have to stop, Rafael, we have sanctuary cities in this country.
I don't know, is any sanctuary city in Michigan? Detroit has been some time.
Sure, a lot of these large Democrat-controlled inner cities, and even some smaller suburban cities that are Democrat-controlled, they don't have full transparency, Rafael. They don't fully communicate with immigration officials. And sometimes when somebody commits a state crime, and they're imprisoned in a local city or county or state jail, they're under an obligation federally to notify federal detainers. And so I believe in strongly, when I get to the halls of Congress, we need to pass legislation to stop, when we have discretionary money from the federal government, quit giving these sanctuary cities and inner city controlled Democrat cities money. Because if they are not going to comply with ICE and federal officers, then we're going to stop giving them our money from the federal budget.
Okay, but I see that happening every day in California. I see that happening every day in Chicago. I see that happening even in Washington, D.C. There are too many legal pathways that they are escaping because you cannot change a special law of a certain state.
Well, you know what President Donald Trump is doing? He's putting in, this is what I believe, I've been in a courtroom a lot where there's liberal judges and soft on crime prosecutors. And instead of worrying about prosecuting Donald Trump for made up fictitious crimes, why don't you go after the worst of the worst in our cities? And so we need to put judges on the bench that will not give low bonds, that will give harsh sentences, and we need to put prosecutors in there that are serious about cutting down on crime. And these Democrat politicians and mayors and prosecutors' offices are very weak and soft on crime. And look what President Trump just did last week in D.C. He put a U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, in power that's that's a rule of law person. He's putting U.S. attorneys across the country that are rule of law prosecutors and judges that are rule of law. So it's really important that we elect people like President Trump, and we elect Republicans so they can put in real prosecutors and real police chiefs and real judges that are going to cut down on crime. Because Raphael, it's not that hard. All right, it's not that difficult of a calculus of how to get safe and secure communities. No. You know what you do? When you see crime, you arrest them, you put them in front of a judge, they're entitled to a trial, but when they're found guilty based on the evidence, you put them away for a very long time for committing assaultive, dangerous crimes. And it's that simple. And if you do that, you're going to deter them.
Everybody is a criminal. So especially the communities that come from the migration. But let's go to another issue. How do you think you can help the working families, Albanian small businesses and businesses in general, and the middle class in your district, in District 10?
Well, we're going to implement good economic principles. And President Trump is on board with these economic principles. What are they? Well, I believe in cutting taxes. I think during the first term in 2017, Donald Trump passed some tax cuts. We were at 35% tax rate. So corporations and individual small business owners and individual taxpayers, when you're taxed at such a high percentage, it really prevents and stymies economic growth. So you need to bring that tax code down so people invest and people have more money to flood into the economic system. Number two, I believe in deregulation. There's a lot of laws passed, a lot of politicians just, I actually believe in, I'd like to go to Washington, D.C., and instead of always passing laws, how about we revoke and take some laws and repeal some laws?
Yes.
All right, I believe in a federal government should be a limited government. And it was founded that way. It's in the Constitution, and the Founding Fathers set it up that way. And so we need more states' rights. I believe in the 10th Amendment, where if it's not specifically delineated in the Constitution, it reverts back to the states. So give states more power. So the second thing is deregulation. Donald Trump had a proposal he wanted to implement in his first term, and I want to pick up that baton and run with it when we get to the Washington, D.C. It's for every new regulation we want to pass, make the federal government eradicate 2 others. All right, as a way to simplify our tax code, just simplify everything.
Taxation, any kind.
Yep, and then the third part of it is I love Donald Trump's economic policy. Mm-hmm. Every day that he wakes up, he cares about the forgotten American. Truck drivers, teachers, law enforcement, nurses, all these people were the forgotten Americans, and it feels like the middle class is sandwiched, and now we have someone that's in office that cares about the middle class, and that's President Trump, and he cares about the forgotten Americans. And what does he want to implement with them? America first, economic principles. What does that mean? Well, it's tax cuts, it's deregulation, but it's negotiating with foreign countries, because every Republican and Democrat president up to this point has let us down. And when he negotiates with these foreign companies, Rafi, or these foreign countries, I am a full proponent of tariffs. It's a leveraging technique to bring these other countries that have been decimating us. And you actually look at the 10th district, we've been totally decimated by the trade policies of all the previous presidents. We have empty shops, we have empty factories. Well, something's got to change. And it's going to change with me in office as your next congressman, and it's going to change with President Trump. And so when he negotiates with these countries, he makes sure that the trade deficit, there's no more imbalance. He wants to get rid of that trade deficit, and he wants foreign goods to be more expensive to come on the shores of America, which I totally agree with, because you know why, Raphael? We need to rely on domestic products.
But that takes some more time. It's not can be done only with 1 or 2
well, it's going to take a long time to clean up the mess that President Biden left us.
Yes. Let's go now. What are your views on infrastructure, on the public safety? You know a lot of that, and education in your district, District 10.
Yeah, we'll start with infrastructure. Our nation's crumbling, and I love what President Trump's doing economically. He's going to bring more money He's going to grow this economy. Let's take some of that money and push it to the states so we can develop, usually infrastructure is a state's issue, but whatever we can do at the federal level to be a partner, more than willing to do. And President Trump is going to bring money from abroad back into America. And it's actually a national, I just want to answer this, Raphael. It's a national security issue when we're relying on foreign adversaries that hate America for steel, for medicine, for pharmaceuticals. So make the stuff here. No more games. All right. So then he's going to renegotiate these trade deals. It's going to generate revenue. In fact, it already has. He's actually talked about giving a check to all the American people.
Yes, I heard about that.
And I think it's almost up to he saved every American taxpayer about $5,000. He almost wants to give us dividends. And so let's bring some of this money back and let's invest in our infrastructure, because President Trump talks about it all the time. Washington, D.C., and Detroit, and Chicago, and these disruptive, decaying, Democrat-controlled cities, they look like third world countries. It's a joke. The richest, most powerful country in the world should have runways and roads
and no homeless.
And bridges. Yeah, and no homeless people. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to stand up for infrastructure, and we're going to build that through good economic prowess. Second thing you brought up, law and order. I think we've talked about it. No one's tougher on crime than I am, and President Donald Trump is trying to clean up Washington, D.C. So you don't walk from the Capitol building or the Lincoln Memorial statue down to your apartment and get shot in the streets. All right? We're not going to live in a country that's like that. And then thirdly, you talked about education. You know what I believe about education? That our public school system is failing our students. It's sad. And it's failing Americans. And I think the teachers union has such a corrupt collapse on how we control funding, because they're the biggest lobby. People don't realize it. I'm all supportive for teachers. We're going to protect them. But the people representing them, the union, is a very corrupt entity, because they don't put the students first. They put lazy teachers that are not getting the job done. They protect their job. So we need to get rid of teachers that don't reflect the majority, because 98% of them are great. So we need to get rid of the ones that are not performing well. But you know what I believe in? I believe in school choice. You know who should control your children's education, Raphael? Not unions, but you, your family, and the parents. And let's quit teaching our kids about gender ideology and changing their sex and their lifestyle, and teach them about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because that's the way of the world. And if your child is in a failing school, I care about minorities too, in inner cities, because their schools are failing them. So allow them, if their parents want to take them to another public school or another charter school, or you know what, there's nothing wrong about being faithful and being a religious person. There's a lot of faith-based schools out there that are great institutions, and they're going to educate the kids the right way, but they're also going to instill faith. That's the type of people that we want in this country, and the type of children that we want to raise. So I believe 100% in school choice. Let the tax dollar follow the child and the family, and let these schools, competition is very healthy, Raphael. Let the schools compete against each other, because when the public schools compete against other public schools, other districts, charter schools, private schools, parochial schools, it's going to raise the standard for every single school. Yeah. And then one more thing I want to bring up. College is not for everyone, Raphael. All right, I went to college, and I went to law school, and that was my path and that was my calling. But a lot of students, maybe your children, want to go to vocational schools, want to go to trade schools. So quit pushing these kids into universities that, frankly, these schools are indoctrinating these children. All right. They teach them to hate America. Then they leave without any practical skills, with $200,000-$300,000 in debt from these American universities. What we need to do is push children to trade schools, and start it in high school. Bring it back. We used to do the trades in high school all the time. Why we got rid of it, I have no idea. But if you send students to trade schools, let's get less philosophers out there. Let's get less gender study majors, because they don't bring a lot of value to America. And we need more electricians, more pipe fitters, more mechanics. And when we bring these people into America, they're going to build America back up, back to your point on infrastructure. And guess what? They're going to graduate from a journeyman school or a trade school with zero debt, and they're going to be able to get a job, but you know what they can do, Raphael? They can actually start their own business, their heating and cooling business, a mechanical business, an electrician business, and those people in those fields do exceptionally well, and a lot of people in those fields, Raphael, make upwards of $80,000, 6 figures a year, and so I'm going to be a big proponent on trade schools.
Okay, let's now go to some other things. Let's talk about the Albanian community and the 10th district. What steps will you take to mobilize the Albanian American vote in Michigan 10th district? Why the Albanians have to vote for you? Only because you are an Albanian? Tell them.
All right, well, it's going to start with Albanian TV. Number one, I really mean that from my heart. Albanian TV's been getting the word out. Hopefully, Albanian TV and Gani Vila and Raphael, my friends, continue to get the word out about getting an Albanian in office. And you want someone like me, because I have character, I have integrity, I believe in honesty, I believe in transparency. I was raised like that because I'm Shqiptar. And nobody is ever going to be closer to you, Raphael. No one is ever going to represent you and our people better than me. Ever. Because your own brother loves for you, cares for you, and shares the same bloodline as you. So how we're going to mobilize the Albanians? Well, we're going to hopefully use Albanian TV, and Albanian TV has been a great partner with us. Number two, we're going to try to use the religious leaders in this community. And I'm proud to say that I've gone to the Jami and met with Hoj Gurguri. I went to the Teche and met with Baba Elutan at the Bektashi Monastery in Taylor. I met with Father Fred, my home parish at St. Paul's Albanian Catholic Church. We're going to go to the Southfield Albanian Church. There's also an Orthodox church. And so we're going to rally all these religious leaders because, first of all, we care about them, we respect them, we thank them for what they do, number one. Number two, it's a great way to mobilize the Albanian community because regardless of the various faith backgrounds, we're all Albanian. And my door is always going to be open to the Albanian people for their issues. And I'm going to listen to them. So we're going to energize them, and then next I'd like to get to the Albanian business leaders because they've created wealth, they've created good businesses, and so there's about 20 to 30,000 Albanians that we believe live in this district. There's about upwards of 400 or 500 Albanian businesses in the 10th district. So if we coalesce and we organize and we get the message out, because you know, Raphael, a lot of Albanians don't always vote, we need to tell them to vote.
Okay, tell them to help you.
All right, please help us. Please vote. We can win this district. There's a lot of Albanians in this district, 30 to 40 businesses, 300 to 400, 500 businesses, 20 to 30,000 Albanians live in the district. We have a lot of our religious institutions in the district. We live in the district, we own businesses, so that's a good base to jump off of. But here's why them voting makes such a big difference, Raphael. Albanians don't realize their voting power, their potential. In this district, there's only 72,000 people that voted in the last off-presidential year in this election. If we get out 10, 20, 30,000 Albanians, and then I already have great grassroots support, I already have some key endorsements, some law enforcement endorsements, the auto workers for Trump, I'm gonna knock doors. If we get those voters and get them out to vote, and the Republicans, and then we accompany it with 10, 20, 30,000 Albanian votes, no one's gonna beat us in this primary. So your Albanian viewers at home need to understand, I cannot do this without you. We have the resume, I have the public service experience, I have the willingness to work hard, but if they get out and vote, we can change this election and flip it upside down on its head. And we've seen this out of Dearborn, we've seen it out of Hamtramck, we've seen it with some other ethnic areas. They're controlled by that entire ethnic group in that city. So Albanians need to open their eyes and see that people have done it in other areas. In some of those cities I mentioned, we can do it in Sterling Heights and Shelby and Rochester and Clinton Township, etc. in Macomb County.
Now you are at the primaries. In the primaries, the first step is to raise money. What's your appeal to the Albanians to help you?
Once in a lifetime opportunity. Once in a lifetime opportunity. I can't stress that enough. You want an Albanian American congressman in office? This is the best shot I think we're ever going to have in the next 100 years. Because these congressional districts very rarely open up, Raphael. When Congress people get in office, they stay in that seat forever till they die. 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that seat will be likely gone. And the Democrats have put up some young people. The Republicans potentially could put up some young people. So if we want an Albanian American congressperson, it's way too hard in New York, Raphael. Way too hard maybe in Texas or Florida. Mm-hmm. This is a suburban seat north of Detroit where a lot of Albanians live and have businesses wholly concentrated, where I have involvement in the Republican Party. And it's a good recipe because it's a Donald Trump MAGA district. And my involvement in the party, I mean, all that added up, I think it's a recipe for success if we execute. So my plea to the Albanian people is, look, we spend a lot of money on a lot of stuff. Some of it good, some of it indifferent, some of it negative. But you're not investing in me. This is not my seat. This is Raphael's seat. This is Gani Vila's seat. This is the Albanian people's seat. And if we want an Albanian congressman, we're going to work hard for it, but we're going to buy it, straight up. We're going to buy it, we're going to fundraise the money, but I need people at home to donate, really. And if you're willing to donate, we send a lot of money overseas. We send a lot of money to other more hobby-based things. If you want something that's going to change history and change the trajectory of our community, let's win this congressional seat.
I fully support you in what you said, and that should be our further step as a community, helping an Albanian to be elected. How do you plan to engage more younger Albanians in your election or in general in politics, in American politics?
I think me being a younger candidate is going to help young Albanians. They're going to see that as an appetizing person, someone they can relate to. So it's a strength, I think, of my youth. For the young Albanians, and just to see, hey, in America, you can become anything you want if you work hard and follow the laws, and you're ethical, and you too can rise up and go to law school and run for Congress in America. So I think my story is going to work well with them. But another piece of it, Rafi, I think is social media. We're going to utilize social media. The young people, especially a lot of Albanians young Albanians are on social media. Most young people in general are on social media. So me being a younger, hopefully charismatic candidate who can promote the message on social media, I think that's going to help us generate some young people to get on board with the campaign.
So you have to be involved more in social media to spread the voice. How you'll promote transparency, integrity, accountability in the Congress? Let's suppose that you are elected.
I will. Yeah, I'm a very transparent person. I'll always be accountable to the voters. I will get on social media and in front of a microphone every day if I have to and explain to the residents of the 10th district why I voted the way I did. I'm going to read the bills. I'm going to understand the bills. And I'm going to communicate to the voters exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to be one of the most transparent, accountable congressional people that we have around. My office door is always going to be open to my constituents. And I'm going to be in this district. When I'm not in Congress voting, I'll be back on a plane in the district, in the community. So people in the community are going to see me all the time on a weekly basis.
You promise?
I promise. Also, a few things that I care about as far as accountability and transparency, I actually believe in term limits. I'd like to introduce a bill or maybe co-sponsor a bill that implements some sort of term limits, so we don't have career politicians like Nancy Pelosi that sit there.
85 years today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was on the news.
Wow, way too old to be in Congress, and you shouldn't be getting rich off the taxpayers' back. You should go there and maybe serve for 10, 16, 20 years, something like that, and come back home and allow somebody else to serve. So I actually do believe in term limits. Another thing I believe in as well is I don't think that insider trading should occur, where congressional people have information that the common public doesn't have, and they use that for their family or friends as far as insider knowledge. So I'd like to either look at that law or some legislation around that to make sure that that's not occurring, and even if there is a law, maybe strengthen it. So there's a lot of like transparency and accountability stuff that I would like to implement.
Another thing, what makes you the most qualified candidate to represent the diversity of this district and different minorities?
There's not a better candidate in this district, Raphael. Nobody has a story that I have. Family escapes communism, religious persecution, and comes to America and runs for Congress. You tell me where that happens. Nowhere. So I have a story that the American people believe in and they've themselves experienced. So number one, my story. Number two, I think the family I come from, the values that were infused in me. Then I've had a great education. I put my educational background up against any other candidate. I've received a Catholic, wholesome education that I'm very proud of. And then I took that education, instead of making money for myself, I gave it back to others, to the public, became a prosecutor. And I have a great a lot of litigation experience, a lot of legal experience, and a lot of service. So no one has, I think, more public service than I do. And then I have the work ethic and the passion and the love for this presidency, this administration, but even more so this country. And so I think when you combine all of that and then my ethnic background, that's a message I can take out to these voters. It's a very diverse district like we talked about. And so I think a lot of people are going to jive with that background and really get on board with this campaign.
How you ensure the minority voices, including Albanian Americans, are represented in your congressional staff if you are elected?
Yeah, sure. Well, I already have lots of people from the community already volunteering because they want to, they care about this campaign. So this campaign emanated when I spoke to my pastor and spoke to people in the community before I even went out to the public. So this campaign started right. It started in Albanian TV, it started at our religious institutions, and it started with my friends and family. When we get to the halls of Congress, Raphael, it's going to be open. Nobody's going to speak out more against Balkan issues, against aggression towards ethnic Albanian people than I am. Because I know what's happening, and obviously I care. I'm always going to stand also, obviously I'm America first, but always give access to the Albanian ambassador and Kosovo ambassador. When they have issues, when they have problems, I'll always be a phone call away. So we're going to open up opportunities to Albanians, and we're going to open up opportunities to young Albanians to volunteer on this campaign and get involved, to intern in our office, to see Congress, to tour the halls of Congress, to work out of our offices, to hopefully help good young Albanians with letters of recommendation so they could go forward in their life and make a big difference. So we're going to help them, Raphael.
Very good.
We're gonna
now
help them.
I have another question. What sets you apart from the other Democratic or Republican opponents on this race in District 10?
Well, we're not going to elect a Democrat straight off the rip. This is a Republican district. We're going to hold it Republican. I've interviewed with the White House. I've interviewed with the National Republican Campaign Committee, the NRCC. We need the seat, because if we don't have this seat, they're going to impeach Donald Trump and we're going to lose power of the House, and we're going to go back into economic decline and immigration decline like we just were coming off the Biden administration. So the Democrats don't have any good prominent people running, and no one with a resume and a background that scares us, and this seat's going to hold red. Okay, so that's number one. Plus, the Democrats don't have a message. These people are in disarray. Why do you think Donald Trump won all 7 swing states? They have a horrible message. Open borders, more crime, shipping our jobs through free trade to other countries. No, we want fair trade, and we want America first trade policy. So all their policies are horrible. And a lot of the American people saw through it, and they try to persecute and prosecute and kill our president. And everyone knows it. So the Democrats have their issues, and we're glad we have their issues, because America's never going to become a socialist country, and Raphael knows what it's like to live in a socialist country. My family does, and we're never going to allow America to become a socialist country. So they're horrible. The Republicans. Now go ahead, and then we can talk about the Republicans.
When I hear some Democrats here, they are so ignorant What is communism? What is socialism? We have past in our back. We have that experience. That's why we know better that their value or their message doesn't work. It hasn't worked in Albania and should not work, especially in the United States. That's something that anyone who can support a Democrat candidate can see that the values that they, like Maidani in New York, are not values. When he says that we'll open the shop, the groceries, I remember Albanian groceries with the list that you have to take only 250 grams of butter. And I recall that, and I remember that, being in line from 3 o'clock in the morning. The Americans do not have that perspective. That's why we have to tell them, and you have to tell them, that's not the perspective for United States. Okay, I have one of the last questions. If you are elected, and I guarantee that you should be elected, what legacy do you hope to leave to everybody after your first term? And now we are going 4 years in advance.
First term, I want them to say that Robert Lulgjuraj never sold out his faith, his family, his community, stood shoulder to shoulder with the greatest president of my lifetime, President Donald John Trump. I always put America first every single day that I was in the halls of Congress, and always stood up for the American workers and American families and common sense policies, and protect that nuclear family and make sure that we're not scared to talk about God and faith, because that's the bedrock of this country. And I want my legacy to be that I was always someone that's transparent and honest and integrity and character, and always stood up for the right things and always listened. Because I think as a politician, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen more than you speak. And I will always give, even if they disagree with my political viewpoints, I'll always give people in my district an opportunity to speak. And you know what, Raphael? I actually believe in town halls. Okay. I know a lot of politicians strive away from it because they don't want negative feedback. Well, guess what? I will get out there in front of a microphone because I believe the truth is on our side. The truth is on our side, and we got to go out there and communicate to them why we voted the way we did and why we're standing up for. Because I believe that if we lose faith in this country and we lose religion and virtue and morality, then you're not going to have a populace, a good, wholesome character populace. America's going to falter, number one. Number two, capitalism works. Sure, America has its issues, but yes. Why do millions of people leave their country every year to get to our shores? Because we have something in this country. We give people freedom and liberty and capitalism and allow them to practice their faith. And when you enrich humanity like that, then as a society, you flourish. So we're always going to protect that. And I just really appreciate what you said last segment about you grew up in a country where you were given only certain items at the grocery store. You were limited. Well, in America, it's limitless. And you know what socialism leads to? With this gentleman, Mamdani in New York, it leads to communism. And it leads to, instead of having the separation of powers and having local, state, and federal government and an executive branch and a judicial branch and a legislative branch, power accumulates into one person, a king, a queen, or a dictator. And if you look at the history of the world, communism has never ever worked anywhere. Socialism has never ever worked anywhere because they run out of resources, they run out of food, and then they kill the human spirit. And so we're not going to live in a country like you did and my parents and my family and my grandparents did, where you're killed for being religious, where religious leaders are killed, where they come to your farm or your business and they take and harvest all your produce, and then the government tells you how much you're going to receive back. And if you speak out, there's no freedom of speech. If you criticize them, then you're killed. And so that's exactly what the Democrats are bringing to this country. And I promise you, I'm going to wake up every day and stand up against it. And we're going to make sure that we have freedom and liberty. And your children, Raphael, even though you may have been limited by the circumstances of your birth, your children are also going to sit in this chair one day and run for the halls of Congress, because we're going to protect the American dream. And that's what I'm a product of. And I'm going to help protect the America First Donald Trump agenda.
Now, the last appeal that you have to your electors. What do you have to tell, not only to the Albanians, but to everyone in District 10, that why they have to vote for Robert Lulgjuraj? I know myself, but I want my audience to know.
Well, I need them to do two things, Raphael. I'm not the son of a billionaire, a millionaire. I don't have any big special interest group behind me. I'm from the grassroots, and I'm a prosecutor. And so I need people to donate, because unfortunately, the halls of Congress are expensive. It's the highest, the Senate and Congress are the highest legislative offices in the entire country, frankly, the world. And so it takes money to get our message out. Where does the money go to? It doesn't go to my pocket. It goes to commercials, it goes to billboards, it goes to signage, it goes to social media. So we can get that message out to the voters so they recognize me, my name, and my face. So we need people to donate, number one. Number two, we need them to vote. Register to vote, show up on August 4th, 2026, and spread the word. The community knows a lot of people. The community does business with a lot of people. The community has a lot of connections. Raphael might know 20 people, might know 10 people, and so we need you to spread that word. So if you donate and you register to vote and you spread the word, Raphael, I think by the grace of God, God's going to bless this campaign, and I think we're going to win this thing. I don't think so. I actually can feel it. I believe that we're going to coalesce the support, and I think God's going to open up this road for us and get us in, because it's way bigger than me. It's so many of us are invested in it. I know you're invested. I know Ghani's invested. I know our religious leaders are invested. We have to win this for us.
And I like your confidence. And you will win. Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, ju dëgjuat pikërisht kandidatin tuaj, unë do të thosha kongresmenin tuaj të ardhshëm, Robert Lulgjuraj, për atë fushatën e tij elektorale, që do të kthej historinë e shqiptarëve në Shtetet e Bashkuara përpara, sepse do të zgjedhin njerëzit e një gjaku, njerëzit që kuptojnë hallet e emigracionit, njerëzit që kuptojnë atë çka shqiptarët si komb kërkojnë të zgjidhin në trojet tona etnike në Ballkan. Robert, I thank you very much for being present in our studios. I wish you all the best. I am sure that you will win. Dhe me urimin fitore për Robertin, unë po e mbyll këtë emision, i cili besoj se ju ka sqaruar të gjithëve ju se cili është Roberti dhe pse ju duhet të zgjidhni atë, sidomos zgjedhësit e distriktit 10. Të tjerët që mund të jenë këtu apo në shtetet tjera, legislazioni e lejon që you can donate. So anybody can donate in order to elect Robert Lulgjuraj as next congressman here in Michigan. I wish you all the best in the name of the Albanian, in the name of our audience, in the name of every American who shares our values. Thank you, faleminderit. Dashur teleshikues, ne këtu i dham fund emisionit tonë Argument me intervistën tonë të rastit me kandidatin Republikan për Distriktin e 10, Robert Lulgjuraj. Ta shohim sa më shpejt Robertin në Kongres. Miru takofshi.